then we're going to end up with a couple of word problems, and this one's very similar to one that we've seen before. We've got a rectangular solid that has a square base and some height. And we're looking for what length the height is 8 inches less than the length of the base. So h equals base minus 8. And what lengths of base will give a volume less than 512 cubic inches? Well, the volume needs to be, right, volume is base squared times height, but they're saying that the volume needs to be less than 512. So our volume on the right-hand side needs to be less than 512. And remember, height is base minus 8, so base squared times b minus 8. And we're going to leave it in factored form because it's much easier to figure out your interval. So look, our critical points here are b equals 0 and b equals 8. And we're only going to look between 0 and 8 because a negative base length doesn't make sense. And we're going to look at greater than 8 and see which is going to be, they're asking for less than 512, so we're looking for the negative. Okay, 4 is a good test point. And greater than 8, that's 9, the value of our volume. So if I plug in a 4, I get 4 squared, which is positive. It's really the 4 minus 8 that's going to go negative, so I get a positive squared, which is still positive, times a negative. Gives me an overall negative. And if I plug in a 9, I'll get a positive squared times a positive, which gives me an overall positive. Okay, so where is it going to be less than? It's going to be in that interval. And good, they asked for interval notation, so there's my answer, and we're done. Okay, example 10. Concentration of a drug in a patient's bloodstream T hours after administration is given by this function. It's a rational function. C of T is in milligrams per liter. Don't know if we really need to know that. During what time interval will the concentration be greater than 1 milligrams per liter? So we want the concentration to be greater than 1. Okay, so the calculation needs to be greater than 1. Okay, so we need to get a 0 on one side. The first thing we're going to do is multiply both sides by that denominator. I'm going to put it in standard form. T squared plus 12 is less than 8t. Let's get a 0 over here. We'll get t squared minus 8t plus 12 is less than 0. So my factoring in, I get t minus 6, t minus 2. So my critical points are at 2 and 6. All right, set up my table. And concentration is not going to go negative. So again, we're just going to look between 0 and 2, 2 and 6, and then greater than 6. Test point. And I plug it in to, so we are looking for where this is less than 0. So we're looking for where this is negative. I'm going to plug it into the factored form. So plug in a 1, I get a negative times a negative, which goes positive. Plug in a 3, I get a negative and a positive, goes negative. Plug in a 7, I get 2 positives. Okay, so where is this less than 0, which is where it would be, the concentration would be greater than 1, is where it's negative, and they ask for interval notation, so x is less than 6 and greater than 2. Okay, we're done with chapter 3. Yay!